A play fake. Young goes deep middle. He's got Jerry Rice. Touchdown 49ers!
Welcome to another edition of the 49ers Family Podcast, where three generations of 49ers fans break down the game each week and hear from Grandpa Mike as he shares personal experiences since he became a fan in 1949. My name is Josh. I'm here with my dad, Jared, and my grandpa, Mike, and we are a 49ers family. Okay, it's always easier to do this when we're coming off of a win. And I think our listeners also appreciate coming off a win because our listenership, if that's a word, we get way more listens after a win than after a loss. And I can relate to that. It takes me a few days to kind of like, all right, swallow the last loss and then kind of look to the next one. But this one should be a fun one to break down and a fun one to preview as well. How are you guys feeling?
Feeling good, Josh. It was certainly a struggle. I mean, when you think back, we were favored by 7. The Chargers were really banged up. Both their starting wideouts didn't play, Mike Williams and Keenan Allen. Their defensive line was a mess. They were giving up 5.7 yards a rush, and so you went in saying, okay, we're going to, just rock and roll. It was a battle. We were swimming uphill for much of the game and we won. So it's just winning, that's the important thing. It doesn't matter how pretty it is. You want it to be powerful and pretty, but we can say that this year we swept Los Angeles.
That's
so
true.
2 against the Rams and 1 against the Chargers. So that feels good. But as we all know, the defense won the game. Just like the Ram game, D'Amico Ryans does something at halftime. I'm not sure what he does, but the opponent does nothing in the second half. The Chargers, I think, gained 52 yards, 3 first downs, and 0 points in the second half. So, and then we had 5 trips inside the 10, and we scored 22 points. So the red zone, we've got to work on that. We were 2 for 5, and we're 55% in the red zone this year. So we've got to get that last yard. We rolled down the field and hit a stone wall. So It's a win. And we gained a game on Seattle.
Yeah,
so I feel
that's huge. I mean, we don't it's not in our notes, but yeah, Seattle lost in Munich to the Bucks. That was pretty cool that they were in Munich. But love to see them lose because we can gain a game on them, because really when you look at the playoff standings, and the playoffs are a ways away, a lot has to happen between now and then, but right now we're slotted in the 7th seed, I'm pretty sure. And if we can win the NFC West, we'll most likely be, it looks like, about a 3 seed, depending on, once again, how the records shake out at the end of the year. That's a difference of 4 spots. That's a big deal.
Yeah.
So we gotta win the games. Going back to our conversation last week, we gotta win the games we're supposed to win, and even more importantly, that game against Seattle is going to be a big one. It's going to be a big one. Dad, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. I thought it was a nail biter of a game. It made me a little nervous. We just our failure to convert into the red zone just kind of at times or stall, I guess, if you will, and have to take a field goal. That kind of was a little bit stressful. But it was a win. It felt good. It was the first time that Shanahan had the keys to his new Lamborghini with McCaffrey and Debo healthy and Mitchell healthy. And we had Kittle and Ayuk out there. I mean, we just have a lot of weapons, and I think it was the beginning, the second half of the season. And I think we're just going to get things rolling. I think it was a good little a start to the second half of the season, and everything looks good. Everybody's healthy, and we're going to keep it going. So I'm very optimistic and excited to give it a little gas. You know, we need to put a
Sure.
few more points on the board. I think that's pretty unanimous, but I'm feeling really good and optimistic and look forward to our next game against the Cardinals here on Monday. So
Yeah, and we talked about this when you called me after the game. We were kind of breaking it down that it did feel like that, and it didn't feel like, it was obvious that we haven't hit our stride. It was the first game where we had everybody healthy. I mean, Juice was back, Devo was back, Mitchell was back, and then you got the other three, or two, whatever, of Christian McCaffrey and George Kittle. And Brandon Ayuk, shoot. He once again had another 80-yard plus game. Should have had more because he dropped that touchdown. But another great game from him. And so it did literally look like, to the untrained eye, Shanahan is figuring this out. Even Jimmy was figuring this out. There were a couple plays where it was an RPO, meaning that it was either a run play to Christian McCaffrey or a pass play into the flat, or even kind of behind to Debo. And if you look at the film, and of course they're going to break down the film, they have like 10 guys that like scour the film. If he threw to Debo, it was most likely going to be a touchdown. The defense totally ate up that run pass option, and it was two guys. And as we know, we're a good run blocking team from a wide receiver's perspective. And Debo would have easily gotten around the corner and had a big play. Would it have been a touchdown? I don't know. But there were two times that we missed that opportunity. And so that's going to show on the film and different things. You know, I think we're going to see this kind of evolve. Something that I think we also discussed was just the utilization of Christian McCaffrey versus Elijah Mitchell. Elijah Mitchell looked great. What did he have? Like 18 carries for 89 yards. I think I saw that. That's fantastic. In his first game back, he looked good. People are saying, and I agree, he looked skinny. He was getting through those holes, and boom, 10 yards. That was looking great. But he even though he had 18 carries for 85 yards, he only took 35% of offensive snaps. Christian McCaffrey was on the other side of that, 65% of snaps. But it did feel weird seeing Christian McCaffrey on the sideline. Like the first couple times I showed him, I was like, is he okay? Did he get hurt? But no, he's fine. He's just not in that play. So a lot to figure out. And I think that's why the end of the game ended up being so close. As Grandpa said, got within the 10-yard or inside the 10-yard line 5 times, ended up with 2 touchdowns. Yikes. It felt like we were kind of forcing a little bit. We were figuring it out. I hope to see some improvement here in this next game.
Yeah, it's gonna be exciting.
Somebody to get that last yard. We need a big back. We've got to be able to, when we need, it's 3rd and 1 or 4th and 1, or we're at the goal line, we need to get that yard.
Yep.
So
yeah.
Anyway,
it's a big thing. You got to score when you have those opportunities. It shouldn't have been this close. It really shouldn't have. That drop touchdown by Brandon Ayuk, and then the inability to get in the end zone. And as we know, like it or hate it, love it or hate it, Kyle Shanahan is a conservative play caller. And so if we don't get it on 3rd and 2, meaning third and goal from the 2, he's going to take the 3 points every single time. Other coaches would gamble and go for the 7, but not Kyle.
Yeah, and that's okay. Had we scored touchdowns those 3 times, the score would have been 34-16, and a very comfortable win. It wasn't comfortable.
Yep.
And until we intercepted with a minute to go, you thought, okay, we won the game.
Even then, I mean, they got 4th and 3 from whatever their own 10-yard line or so, and it was just like, oh, we stopped them on 3rd down, sweet. Oh wait, yeah, of course they're going to go for it on 4th down. I mean, they could have, but could have punted. That would have been kind of weird. But it made more sense to go for him 4th and 3, and it was hold your breath again. Yikes.
Right. Yeah, Aber is good. He is a good quarterback.
Yeah, he is good. He's good.
Yeah.
But let's talk about him, because he was held to a season low 196 yards and a QB rating of 73. What did we do? All right, let's try it again. What did we do in the second half to really slow him down? Or hot take here, was it the hit that Dre Greenlaw put on him that made him a little jumpy, and he didn't play as well in the second half?
Well, that could be. I don't know. He seemed okay. But one of the interesting things, Nick Bosa is such a force that he played like the first 7 plays, and we put a lot of pressure on them. And then he came out for one play, and they hit that 32-yard pass for a touchdown.
I actually didn't even catch that.
Bosa was out of the game. And then, so as a result, Bosa only missed 2 plays the whole game. He played 57 of the 59 plays, and we just put a lot of pressure on him. So we hurried him, and D'Amico Ryans does something at halftime. I don't know what it is, but it's magic. I mean, the Rams did nothing the second half, and the Chargers did nothing when they were moving the first half. So I know against the Rams, he took the screen away.
Yep.
Against the Chargers, I'm not sure what he took away, but it was very effective.
It was. I mean, looking at the box score, as we kind of noted last week, they love to pass the ball. They only had 16 rush attempts. That's on the low side of kind of NFL averages. We had 41. We ran it a lot. But they had 3.2 yards per carry. We had 3.8. So not too much of a difference there. You want to be obviously kind of north of 4. But yeah, I mean, I do think that Dre Greenlaw hit did have something to the effect of Justin Herbert didn't want to get hit again. And whether it was Dre Greenlaw or it was the line, I mean, shout out to those guys. They played great. Only one, first day starter out there with Nick Bosa, and the others were filling in. Jordan Willis played his butt off. He only played himself, I think, something like 38% of the defensive snaps, but the influence he had on those snaps was huge. So they're kind of getting him back into it. But I really liked what I saw out of Jordan Willis. And I do think that pressure, as well noted, and it's part of the philosophy of Shanahan and John Lynch, is put pressure on the opposing quarterback, have a super deep defensive line. Thanks to Chris Kosaric and the development he does, we have that. And we put that pressure on, and I think that was a big difference maker in this game.
Yeah. So my offensive player of the game is Elijah Mitchell, who, came back after 8 weeks, and he looked really good. He carried 18 times for 82 yards, and he looked quick. And my defensive game ball goes to D'Amico Ryans, our defensive coordinator. I mean, this guy knows what to do.
Yep.
Those are my players. Those are my game balls.
Right on. Dad, who would you give your game balls to? Or game
balls? Yeah, game ball. Yeah, exactly. Let's see. Offensively and defensively, I guess I'll be honest, probably Nick Bosa, as we talked about him. I think just that constant pressure that he puts on the quarterback and wears down the offensive line. It did change the game in the second half. I think that was the difference, just the amount of pressure. That pocket got real small, real fast for Herbert. And then it makes the work easier on our DBs, and our whole pass protection improves. So, and then they were paying attention to Eckler as well, and Watching him come out of the backfield a little better versus in that first half, I'm like, watch Eckler, so they were spying on him a little bit more, and just he wasn't getting those easy little, passes to the flats and then yards after catch stuff. So I would say we have to go with Bosa. He's a stud. He was involved in a lot of plays. Fred Warner played great though too. He was pass and run defense too. So defensively, I felt really good about them, and I think Jimmy, didn't turn over the ball. He's getting. I mean, people around the league really appreciate Jimmy Garoppolo more than most 49er fans in a lot of ways. But because they see Jimmy as somebody who protects the ball well and is actually, a very decent quarterback, and he played a good game. And he tends to be somewhat conservative, and that's why he doesn't turn over the ball, and sometimes why he doesn't get rid of the ball in time, or he has to throw it out of bounds because he takes his time and he doesn't have a clean read. He doesn't throw the ball, generally speaking. So, but yeah, those are some of my thoughts. And just kind of, since we're just laying it all out there, keys to the game were red zone efficiency. And like one score, it would have been almost a 30-point game for us. You know what I mean?
Right.
One conversion. So we actually moved the ball fairly well. We threw the ball very efficiently, and we ran decently. The other thing was early. What did I write down? Early down efficiency. Our first and second downs, we were not efficient. We were too many times where we 3rd and 5, 3rd and 6, 3rd and 7, and we were obviously put in a pass situation, and we got out of several of them actually. And we made a good throw to Debo on a 3rd and long, I think it was, and even Kittle in one. So
Kittle and Juwan Jennings.
Yeah. So, and we passed very well, and all the analytics through this season so far, we are a pass strong offense, the way our defensive line plays, and then we have great weapons. We are a yak team, is what I like to say, a yards after catch team, whether it's a Kittle and a Ayuk or a Debo in the flats or a Christian McCaffrey coming out of the backfield. We get our playmakers in space, get them the ball in space. I don't care if it's 3 yards behind the line of scrimmage, get them the ball in space. And we have what every team dreams of, the playmakers yards after catch. We're not a deep ball team. I guess Danny Gray sprained his ankle. So our little speedster to give a little threat to our safety. I mean, the safeties in this game, the deep corners, they're just coming forward for a run every time because nothing's getting behind them. There's nobody running past them, so very predictable. So hopefully we can open up the game a little more and improve our first and second down efficiency. And really what it comes down to is we ran the ball 41 times, and we ran the ball in first and second downs, and we had to pass on the 3rd down. Yeah. And that's also what stalled us in the red zone. We have to loosen up a little bit. And I think once they look at the film and look at the field and see what we're good at, I think we need to go to the air a little bit more. We have a threat on run, our running game, but we need to open it up passing. That's actually, I think it was Lombardi, because I always listen to him, but he was saying we're like the number one offense.
Since McCaffrey joined the Niners.
Yeah, DVOA. I mean, and the DVOA, we're number one. I mean, and in passing, we're stronger in passing than running, even with Christian McCaffrey. Christian McCaffrey adds to our passing game. He is another weapon. So I'm just going to keep harping. We throw the ball more, we're going to win more. I mean, we're going to put up more points. I mean, that's the bottom line. We need to run, control the game. So those were a couple things. Kittle only had 2 targets. I mean, and one catch, and he got 10 yards after that catch, and he's a beast. So we could, there's a lot of opportunity that we still have, which is
for sure. I mean, you hit right on it, but my game ball is going to go to Jimmy. Jimmy is playing great this year. What he is known for unfortunately, from his last few years, is making that one mistake, boneheaded mistake, bad read. Why did you throw it there type throw every single game that kind of takes points off the board, maybe because of the turnover or whatever. He hasn't done that. He's been better with the ball this year. And I think that is one of the reasons why, his ratio is down. And also, like you just said, Dad, that our passing offense is actually outpacing our rushing offense, which I don't think anybody would have guessed that. Yeah, we have great receiver threats, but Kyle Shanahan likes to run the ball. He likes to control the game, control the pace. There's nothing wrong with that. And perhaps, if you asked him, he would say, well, I think it's partially because we do run the ball and then we pass and the run sets up the pass. That could be a factor. But I think just props to Jimmy for not making that one mistake, because if he did in this game,
that's the difference.
We might have lost the game.
Yep.
So he's only thrown four interceptions all year.
That's awesome.
And so that's wonderful. The long pass to Ray McLeod was a broken play.
That was beautiful. That was a dime.
Yeah, that was. But he that was his third read. He said the first two guys were covered, and I looked downfield and bam. So that was
awesome.
That was nice.
Right in the bucket.
Yeah, so it's a good win. We're 5-4. The first time this year we've been over 500. Took us 9 games. But on we go to Mexico City.
Mexico City, baby. La Ciudad de Mexico, LDF. They call it LDF, DF, El Distrito Federal. It's the federal district because that's their capital. That's what they call it. But yeah, big game. It's gonna be awesome. I can't wait. Monday Night Football, gotta love it. Aztec Stadium, just this humongous old stadium. It's just it's just known to be one of the best venues.
Super, built in 1966. So it's interesting. The NFL has been playing these international games mainly in London. They went to Germany last week with Tampa and Seattle for the first time. But the first international game ever played was in 2005, and it was the 49ers and the Cardinals in Mexico City.
Oh, that's a cool piece.
And the stadium, is it Aztec Stadium?
Yep.
It holds 87,000. For that game, there was 103,000. I mean, and they love it. And you were telling me earlier, Josh, that and I don't know how they figure this out, but that on next Monday night, the 82% of the fans are going to be Niner fans. How they know that, I don't know. The same thing happened when Jared and I went to the Ram game. They said it was going to be 75% Niner fans, and it was. So how they figure it out, I don't know, because
I don't know either.
Somebody calls in or goes online and gets a couple of tickets and puts in their credit card, and they don't ask who you're for. But anyway, so like you've said all along, Josh, this is almost a home game, although it's a Cardinal home game.
Right. Yeah. No, it's gonna be interesting. And somebody else pointed out on that fact that 82% are going to be Niners fans, that they're not saying that 18% are going to be Cardinals fans. They're saying that 82% will be Niners fans. There's going to be a lot of people there just to watch the game. That and this is pointed out that Mexico's interest in American football really was garnered and kind of cultivated in the 90s when the Niners and the Cowboys were really big. And so a lot of Mexican fans, and if you go to Mexico, you see the kind of the fake merch and stuff that they make. It's a lot of Niners, it's a lot of Cowboys. So honestly, it's
Okay.
going to be a lot of Niners fans, a bunch of Cowboys fans, or they love the Raiders too, a bunch of Raiders fans, and then probably I would say about maybe half of the rest, so maybe 90% are going to be Cardinals fans. The place is going to be rocking, and it's going to be so cool.
Yeah.
Gonna be
So
So
the Niners this week have been training in Colorado Springs. They flew there on Tuesday, and they're practicing there 3 days this week for the altitude to get used to, get acclimated. And then they'll fly to Mexico City. And Mexico City, like we said last week, isn't that far. It's closer than Cleveland is from the West Coast. So it's not like going to Europe. And in the second half of the season, our air miles are way down. We did a lot of flying the first half. Of course, it was 5 road games and now just 3 in the second half. But anyway, the Niners are in Colorado Springs at the Air Force Academy training and getting used to that thin air.
Yeah, you gotta love it. It should be a good game though. Niners are favored by 8 points right now. The over under is set at 45. So kind of similar, honestly, to the game last week against the Chargers. Almost exactly the same spread and line. So hopefully, though, as we just kind of talked about, hopefully we do capitalize on some of those things, some of the mistakes that we made, and can put more points on the board this time. All-time series, San Francisco leads the Cardinals 32 games to 29. I was surprised to see it that close, personally. And also surprisingly, Arizona has won 11 of the last 15 meetings. We did have a little bit of a lull there when we had Chip Kelly and all these coaching changes, and Kyle Shanahan came in and lost a ton of games, which then set us up to get some good players in the draft. So not totally surprising, but like, yikes. They do, in the last few years, somehow these games are always tight. Colt McCoy beat us last year. I just want to make this game as clean as possible, but we all know that this is the NFL, and it's hard to win football games in the NFL.
It is.
Yeah, and it's be interesting to see who plays quarterback for him, because Kyler is hurt, and Colt McCoy has an issue or two, I think, too. So I think it's a game time decision or something like that. So
yeah, they're both not ruled out. They're both kind of day to day. But what is notable about that is just the practice time. I mean, these are professionals, but still, practicing for the opponent is valuable. And it sounds like neither of them are full participants in practice. They don't have a determined starter right now. So the way that they're splitting up reps and stuff like that, it's messing with their preparation. So that's a benefit for us, of course. But yeah, we'll see. I'd be surprised if it's not Kyler Murray. But with a hamstring injury, yeah, he's probably going to play. I just don't think he's going to be as active on his feet as he normally is. I think they're going to try and leverage his arm and kind of moving things around a little bit, but he's not going to break out on any kind of designed runs, I would think.
Yeah, that's very likely.
He's a guy we've had trouble with the last number of years.
Yep.
But also, just an interesting side note, he's the reason, Kyler Murray is the reason we have Nick Bosa. So in that draft, 4 years ago, Arizona went first and they took Kyler Murray, and we went second and we had Nick Bosa. So thank you, Arizona.
Yeah, that was insane. I was so shocked to see them do that, but they had just hired Cliff Kingsbury. He wanted his QB. The best QB they had at the time was Josh Rosen, who's honestly, I don't think he's even in the league anymore. If so, he's maybe on the practice squad. And he wanted his QB, so he got him. But Nick Bosa was projected to be the number 1 pick up until like 2 weeks before the draft. So we got a number 1 pick at number 2, which is great.
Yeah, we thank you, Arizona, for Nick Bosa.
Yeah,
he's going to be with us a long time, and he's a Hall of Fame player. He, he's as good as they get.
Oh yeah, I mean we broke that down a little bit previously in an earlier episode when he had another super disruptive game of, is he the best edge rusher the Giants, the Niners have ever seen? And he's on track. If he can stay healthy, if we can lock him down long term, he has that potential. Yeah. That's for sure.
Yeah, he's a sack master.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about this Arizona team, what they're good at, what they're not good at. Grandpa, where do they kind of fall in comparison to the league?
Well, JJ Watt plays for him, and he's played most games this year. He has 5.5 sacks. And then they have a safety, Buda Baker, who is all over the place. He's really good. He leads the teams in tackles, and it's very rare at safety leads the team in tackles.
That's not a good sign, actually.
Yeah. See, the Cardinals defense is ranked 27th.
Okay.
So that's good. We will move the ball. We'll score points. Andy Lee is their punter. He used to be our punter. And so that, yeah, they're not a very good defensive team. They have great receivers. Mm-hmm. So they have 3 great receivers. I don't know who's going to play quarterback. Colt McCoy last week played. He was also with us once upon a time.
That's right.
And he had a great game against the Rams. He completed 70% of his passes, and they were moving. He looked very good. I watched the game. But so we'll see who plays quarterback. Yep. Arizona last week, for whatever reason, and it was on the road for them in SoFi in LA, they just were really jacked up and on fire. They were jumping around, and just before the game, I went, wow, what did they just drink? And they played that way. So it'll be interesting Monday night to see them right before kickoff. They go through this stuff, and they were hyped. Yeah. So yeah, we should do well against Arizona. They're not a good defensive team, and we'll move the ball and we'll score points.
Mm-hmm. And it looks like offensively, their offense is pretty middle of the pack. They average 22 points a game, which as do we. But we have played a couple of low-scoring games, unfortunately. And then kind of rushing offense and passing offense, 16th in the league, 18th in the league. So, kind of middle of the pack. But yeah, like you said, what jumps off the little stat sheet here is that, yeah, they allow 368 yards a game and 27 points, which puts them at 27th in the league. So I think this is another good game, good evolution of what we had just previously talked about, of taking that next step with our offense. I'm just going to go out and say it. I hope that the Niners score 30 points, and I almost expect them to score 30 points. I want them to break that 30-point threshold, one, from a mentality standpoint, and two, just to, win a game and win it kind of comfortably. I think our defense is going to be able to shut these guys down and keep them under 20 points. But I want to see the offense believe that they can, break it open.
Agreed. I'm going to score 30 points every game, and I just feel with the talent that we have, and we are loaded, we should score 30 points every game. I'm disappointed when we don't. So yeah, I like that number too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm gearing for 30. I think everybody. I think as a team, that's what they're looking for, is 30 plus points. And if it goes according to plan, our defense, we keep people to like under 20 points. I would love to see a 31-19 or something like that kind of game. And I think with this matchup and what we're going to put on the field, we have a very good chance at making that happen. So it's gonna be fun. And I just hope on first and second downs we throw the ball. I don't want to see 2 runs in a row. I mean, too often. I think we'll do more. So that's my hope. Is the early downs we're going to the air a little bit, and then we run the ball. I mean, we're going to run the ball really well, but open it up a little bit more.
Yeah,
and we'll put more points on the board.
Right. Yeah. This last game, we were about 60% run, or a little bit more than 60% run, and about 38% pass. I hope it's a little bit more toward 50-50. I agree. It doesn't have to be exactly 50-50, but what you want to do, and I think what you're trying to say, is you want to keep the defense guessing. What's going to happen?
Yeah.
It did seem that we kind of we're telling them we're going to run the ball, and even we put some locker room material out there that, hey, we want to run the ball this week. And so the first half, the Chargers, they stuffed us on the run, and they made us go into these long third downs, and fortunately we were able to convert some of those. But I don't want it to be as obvious this week. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yep.
You know what's interesting is we are a running team, and the 49ers like to run the ball. But if you look at the first 9 games, we've run 253 times. We've passed 279 times. It's almost even. So we average 28 runs a game and 31 passes. So I know Shanahan likes to, he wants to run 40 times a game.
He
just
does.
run the clock, and but anyway.
Yeah, well, and I mean that's the thing. It is kind of a learning experience. I mean, that's interesting in the first 9 games, but then those 9 games are not honestly indicative or representative of the team that we have right now. So it's one thing to say those games with Trey Lance, or the one game with Trey Lance, the typhoon, and then obviously the first bad game with Jimmy against a good Broncos defense, and then we get what's his face? We get Christian McCaffrey, but Debo's hurt, and now and Elijah Mitchell is hurt. We're a totally different offense. So I'm so intrigued to see kind of what we make of this, because it's going to be interesting. I think the whole league is holding their breath right now. Odds makers, everybody, they think, holy cow, if the Niners can get it together, they can go on a run and carry that into.
How do you stop them?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
and we got a freaking top 5 defense at the same time. So we are,
and we've had injuries. People are coming back now, but we've had 14 starters miss at least 1 game, and so we're getting healthy. We got McCaffrey, and we're going to start clicking.
And on that fact, we always mention injuries. Another great 2 weeks in a row. No injuries to report. Danny Gray, as Dad said, rolled his ankle or sprained his ankle, and warm-ups held him out of the game. And I actually didn't see the practice report today. Was he a full participant, or is he on the side?
I don't know.
But obviously he's kind of our wide receiver 5, if you will. So not big.
He's the speed guy, so he can spread the field. I'm anxious to see him ever since Trey Lance hit him in the preseason with that long bomb. Awesome. I thought that's what we're going to see, and we haven't. But it's coming. I know the league is worried about the Niners. You hear people. I listen to sports radio a lot every day, and everybody, the Niners are the one that can, don't want to face them.
Yep. Totally. Should be going. So, all right, let's do some game score predictions. I will go first. I mentioned I want them to get to 30. I think they can get to 30. I'm going to say the Niners win 30-20.
Okay, awesome. I'm thinking 31-19.
Okay.
Well,
Yeah.
we're all close. I'm going to say 30-17.
Ooh.
Niners.
Nice.
So
That is right, the sweet spot where they should be. I mean,
it's where it should be.
Defensively and then offensively, I mean, we could rip the top off of it and even get, in the mid 30s. We have the capability. It is so fun. Like I said, it's like owning a new sports car, and you just really haven't taken it out on the track fully and know all that it can do. Yeah, it's very exciting, and our defense is stout. So I think they're always going to be do very well against most offenses. So yeah, that sounds like a very, very good prediction. I'm excited. I just want tomorrow. I don't want to wait till Monday.
I know Monday feels so far away. When we record this on Wednesday nights, it's like, oh man, we gotta wait 5 more days.
yeah.
But no, can't wait. It's gonna be awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Well, as per usual, we always end our episodes with a story from Grandpa Mike. This one is one of the best. I mean, I say that I think every single week. But Grandpa, tell us about the time. This is Cardinals week, so tell us about the time where you got to be up close and personal at a very key point in 49ers history.
Okay, well, since we're playing in Arizona this weekend, I wanted to share a story about Steve Young and the last game that he played. And for those of you that don't know Steve Young or didn't see him play, and I mean, when I thought about it, I mean, this event happened in 1999, and that's 23 years ago. So anybody that's, in their mid 20s that don't remember Steve Young. But so because of that, I just want to mention a couple of things. He was a spectacular player, just lightning fast, and one of the greatest athletes ever to really play quarterback. He was a superstar in high school. He lived in Greenwich, Connecticut, and he lettered in all 3 major sports. He pitched a no-hitter in baseball in high school, and he was an All-American at BYU. He finished 2nd in the Heisman Trophy in 1983. And then in the NFL, he signed at the USFL. We won't go into that.
The LA Express.
LA Express, $40 million. And he probably got $3.12. But anyway, so yeah, he played with the LA Express. And then his rights were, NFL rights were Tampa. And they had a terrible team, and he just got slaughtered. Oh, yeah. So
running for his life.
Bill Walsh grabbed him when Joe Montana started to, get older, and he knew he was going to have to replace him. It was just a brilliant move. Steve Young kind of sat on the bench for a couple of years, but I mean, he led the NFL in passing 7 times. He was the MVP twice in 92 and 94, and he's in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. So for our young listeners, he was phenomenal. And so my story is I worked for United Airlines, and we flew the team. So I got to fly with the team a number of times, including this fateful day in September of 1999. And it was the 3rd game of the year. We flew to Phoenix, and it was really awesome because I'm with the team the whole time, except for during the game. I sit in the stands. But so we left on a Saturday, and you have a police escort when you land to the hotel. And I stayed with them in the hotel, for 2 days, and rode the buses to the game and had access to the locker room. So anyway, the game was at ASU's Sun Devil Stadium. It was a Monday night game. The Niners were a 2-point favorite, and it was the third game of the season. Steve Mariucci was the coach. And in the second quarter, there was an all-out blitz, and Arnenas Williams came in and hit Steve Young. Our running back then was Lawrence Phillips, and he didn't even attempt to block him. He kind of watched him go by. And so anyway, Steve really, I mean, he got hit like with a train, and the game stopped, and, you know, they got him off the field, and and he didn't come back, although he was on the sidelines just begging Mariucci to come back in. I could see that. And so the Niners won the game 24-10. And afterwards I went in the locker room, and you know, the way it works is after the final gun, 1 hour to the minute, the buses leave to the airport, and 2 hours to the minute of the final gun, the flight leaves. So I go in the locker room, and I wanted to just walk over by Steve Young and see how he was feeling, you know, talking, whether he was coherent or not. And he was actually talking to this blonde gal who turns out was his fiance. I didn't know it at that moment. Later, I learned that was his fiance, and they got married and have a bunch of kids today. So anyway, I just went over and kind of stood next to him and listened to him talk, and he was fine. So we fly home, and I'm thinking he's fine. He'll play next week. He never played again. And he, you know, it's these concussions, and Steve is a very smart guy, and he probably could have played. I'm sure he could have, but he really weighed what the rest of his life would be like, and he wanted to enjoy his kids and his family, and so he never played again. And the Niners went 4-12, so they went on an 8-game losing streak.
Wow.
They won the next week at Tennessee, and then they lost 8 in a row without Steve Young. So great player, great man, and he, you know, retired early. But
yeah, he had multiple concussions up until that point, and that had become an issue in his career. And I think after consulting with doctors and just kind of the best medical advice at the time was, you know, they knew at that time that with each concussion there was just more and more likelihood of more potential future repercussions from a health perspective. So yeah, that was tough to see him go out that way, and who would have thought that would be his last game, you know. But the head injuries they kind of add up, and it was time to call it quits. Yeah, but great guy. That's a great story. And you were there, and that is a moment.
Close to personal. And
Yeah.
today he's working with doctors at Stanford University on concussions. So he meets with they're doing these studies and always trying to improve things. But and today, you know, we see the protocols when somebody gets hit hard, and if the ref thinks that they're, you know, they point it out and the guy's got to come out of the game, and they go through the protocols. So it's really improved. But anyway, that was a little bit about Steve Young.
Yeah. And unfortunately, I was talking to Grandpa today. Really, I really think that is a huge moment in 49er history, because you know, really since then we've been to the Super Bowl, haven't won the Super Bowl, and yeah, I mean, just a really, really big moment. But as I've well documented here, big Niners fan, also big BYU fan. Once again, Steve Young is the kind of that Venn diagram that overlaps my fanhood. So I love Steve, love what he does. I was actually a student at the University of Utah and had an internship at Primary Children's Hospital, which is kind of the top children's hospital in Utah. And his foundation, the Forever Young Foundation, has a whole room there. And there's different memorabilia of Steve, and he frequents there every now and then. We'll do a kind of an event at Primary Children's. And then one last story is my freshman year at BYU, Steve Young, who also owns a home. He still lives out in Palo Alto, but owns a home and has some horses in Provo, Utah, next to BYU. He gave essentially a devotional talk at a 4th of July kind of event. And I went with my sister Jackie, and we were like, should we kind of wait and see if we could get a picture with him? We'll just kind of see how it all shakes out. There are a lot of people there, but we just waited and waited and waited and kind of just hung out until finally it was just, probably 20, 30 people left. And the security guy it was in the Marriott Center, which is kind of BYU's basketball arena. He was kind of guarding the court, and we said, hey, is it okay if we just go say hi to Steve? And for some reason the guy said sure. And so we went down there, waited. He was talking to somebody and said, hey Steve, just could we get a quick picture? And I did say Grandpa's a big fan, and took a picture with him. And I think, Grandpa, you still have that picture on up in your house, which is a classic.
I do.
But what a guy.
But I think a little more of the story, or at least the one I heard, is that all of that happened, but you and Jackie almost left, and your father said, you go take a picture for Grandpa. So
I don't remember that, so that's good. I'm sorry I left you out of that, Dad.
That's right.
Yeah.
I remember. That's right. And I'm like, you guys got to do it. Yes.
Yeah.
Make it. Yes. So,
and it's encouragement.
It's a great picture. Yep. And a great memory. He's a great guy. We all read his book, on his, I guess his autobiography, and that was so good.
Life Behind the Spiral. Yeah. If you haven't read it, you must read it. It is.
Yeah. I've read it. And one of the things I remember about it was he goes to BYU, and he was number 8 in the he was quarterback number 8 in the depth squad, and he wanted to quit. He wasn't practicing, and so he called his father in Connecticut and said, this isn't good. I'm going to quit. And his father said, I'm going to quit and come home. And he said, well, where are you going to live? Because quitters don't live in this house.
Yeah. He said, you can quit, but you can't come home.
Yeah, you can't come home. Yeah, so you go find a place to live if you're going to quit.
Yeah.
And then so it was also interesting that the quarterback before him, sorry to the young people that are listening to this, the quarterback before Steve Young at BYU was Jim McMahon, and he learned how to throw from McMahon. Steve was very accurate, but yeah, he's quite a guy, and it was a great player, and he was a great runner. He gained over 4,000 yards running. He was very fast, so unusual for a quarterback to run like that. Now today there's a number of them, but when he played there wasn't.
Well, and what's always weird to see in the NFL, because you don't see it very often, he was a lefty. And Jerry Rice talked about how the ball would spin different when he would catch it. So that was something that he was always known for too, as being that lefty, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Well, all right, last point, and then we're going to wrap it up here. Just as we were talking, I looked up, because I know the Niners have a great record on Monday Night Football. Steve Young's record on Monday Night Football, 19-6. That's amazing. So not surprising that he's working for ESPN on their Monday Night Football squad now. But yeah, gotta love it.
Well, let me just touch on that for a second, Josh. Just
Okay.
Two more little quick things. So Monday night, the Niners they've played 80 games. They've won 51, and they're second in wins on Monday night. Pittsburgh has 54. The Niners have 51. So Monday night you can only play 3 of those a year. If you're a great team, it's a privilege to be on there. It's the national stage. It's still, a big deal. Lots of people watch it. So I hope we play a great game and really come of age and show off our talent in front of a national audience.
Yeah, can't wait. All right, well, that'll do it for another episode of 49ers Family. Thanks for listening. Thanks for being part of our family. If you have any feedback, questions, hit us up at 49ersfamilypodcast@gmail.com. Until next time, go Niners.
Go Niners.
Go Niners.